right, so we'll just give it a couple minutes here for all of our attendees to get into the meeting. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I think this is going to be super informative. Give it just about a minute here. I think looks like everybody is pretty much in, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Good morning and welcome to Whitmix's webinar, CAM Software and the Right Tooling, Taking Your STLs to New Heights. We're going to be joined by Sherri Weatherby and Ron Rosenthal. My name's Bryce. A lot of you probably know me already, but for those of you that don't, I'm the digital marketing dude here at Whitmix. And I'll be hosting today's webinar. I do want to start with just a couple of housekeeping items. First, in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you should see a questions box. Feel free to type in any questions you might have throughout the webinar. Ron and Sherri will be answering those probably at the end, or if there's something that's like super relevant that I see like during it, I may jump in. It just depends on what the question is, but those all will get answered. So feel free to type any of those in. Next, if you're a CDT, this webinar is approved for 1 hour of CE credit towards your certification. You'll get an email within 1 to 2 days that'll tell you how to obtain your credit. There is like a little quiz, if you will, that you will have to complete. It's nothing crazy. So just keep your eye open for that email. Like I said, it'll be 1 or 2 days, and you'll get that. Finally, this webinar is being recorded, so within 24 hours, it'll be on our website, whitmix.com. It will be on our YouTube channel, and it will also be on Facebook. So this is also live on Facebook, so it will be there as well for you to go back and view if you so choose. Today, Ron Rosenthal and Sherri Weatherby will discuss the importance of maintaining optimum operation and use of CAM software and hardware. In this webinar, Mr. Rosenthal and Miss Weatherby will explain and demonstrate the practical reasons that staying on top of CAM maintenance, hardware specs, and the tooling is important. CAM software that runs properly will effectively minimize post-processing of your milled restorations and offer you the success of cutting superior and complicated projects. So you know who you're listening to. Ron Rosenthal, CDT TI, has 28 years of experience as a lab owner, a Crown and Bridge instructor, and an IT technical specialist in CAD/CAM technology. Sherri, almost all of you probably know her at this point. She is our territory sales manager extraordinaire at Whitmix, focusing on Whitmix's digital products and services in the southern half of the United States. So with that, that's all I've got. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Sherri and Ron. Sherri, Ron, you're up.
Thanks, Bryce. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bryce.
So I'm going to actually kind of just kick this off doing a quick overview, and then Ron's going to kind of dig deep into the meat and potatoes of this webinar. So I've known Ron since 1995. I actually helped him get his lab open up in Michigan back in the day. So we've been working together for quite some time, and I do consider him a MillBox expert. He actually worked for Sim Systems for several years, and you know, the MillBox software can actually be utilized with several mills on the market. With that being said, as a Whitmix representative, we are a reseller of the Roland mills. Roland has a really nice lineup of a wet mill, the 42W. They also have the 52D, and then the 6-disc changer, the DCI. So if anyone wants to talk a little bit about that later, feel free to reach out to me, and we can talk about how well MillBox works in conjunction with that 52D and the DCI. With that being said, anyone that's looking to, because I'm sure that Ron's going to kind of go into different tool strategies and focusing on those full arch cases. Anyone that's looking to do those full arch on all on X cases, the 52D is going to be very ideal for you because they have that aftermarket C-clamp that will allow you to get in and get into that anterior region at a 90-degree angle so that you're not carving in the additional anatomy in the green state prior to centering. So With that being said, Mr. Rosenthal, you're on.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And I appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedules at the lab or wherever you're located to join us today on this presentation for CAM software and basically optimizing your CAM capabilities. I'm going to open my presentation to get us started and share the screen. So what you're going to see here is basically WhipMix. We're trying to drive the excellence in your laboratory, your clinic, or your facility to get you the desired results in all your prosthetic restorations and everything that you're doing. So basically, today, already a snag. Basically, what we're doing is we're taking you to new levels, new heights in milling, and basically taking your Roland DigiShape software and your Roland mills to the next level. But just to let people who are listening in, MillBox is not only geared towards Roland. So MillBox through WhipMix can be used with any machine that you have on your facility. It would just have to be incorporated into the MillBox version, and you can run any equipment that you have in the lab, so you can streamline your CAM protocol within your facility. So you need to always remember that WhipMix is here to help you in any capacity in any of your milling situation. So what we're doing is WhipMix is always on the cutting edge of innovation. We're trying to take everybody to the latest technology and create new advantages in milling and milling strategies. We're trying to use easy to use products, i.e. MillBox, derived from the needs of customers and the needs that customers have expressed. Updated products to ensure the proper functioning after sales and service so that you have continued functionality is the key to your success. So part of my discussion here today is to emphasize the importance of maintaining your hardware, maintaining your software, because a lot of people forget that CAM software needs to be updated just as much as your CAD software. Now, 90% of us at WhipMix work with quote unquote 3Shape. So 3Shape is always improving and launching improvements. And to meet those improvements on your milling side and milling needs, MillBox meets those requirements as well. They change on a yearly basis, monthly basis, and quarterly basis. And there's updates and advancements happening all the time to the software. So to optimize your milling results and get the best results out of your strategies and tooling combinations, these things change regularly. So MillBox and Sim Systems, who creates MillBox, has been kind enough to create a wonderful user manual for 2021 that's available on their website. It is highly informative. It will teach you ins and outs, has videos, quick to informative information that you can reach and download to your computer. You can train some of your employees with it, use it, and keep them always fresh, because employees change on a regular basis, and sometimes it's hard to train to take over those positions. MillBox has created this informative area so that basically you can teach anybody to run the system. It's that simple and that straightforward. But MillBox also can get very advanced. With our latest versions that are available through us, we can also get to the point of adjusting strategies, optimizing strategies, and increase the productivity of the laboratory moving forward. Okay, so everybody's favorite question to us at tech support: computer hardware recommendations. Now, we always give basic recommendations. I myself always strive to say, okay, we can always start off with the basic i7 PC, 16 gigs of RAM, solid state drives to run everything. That'll be wonderful for the basic needs. But if you want longevity and the ability to do CAM and CAD for a long time, I always emphasize to get the max that you can get with your system. So I would push for 32 gigs of RAM. I'd go up to an i8 or i9 CPU. So always try to get more bang for the buck. It's extremely important because it'll make your system last longer in the long run as the software advancements take place and keep moving forward. So these are the basic hardware recommendations, but always try to get more. And we are here to help you with those decisions. We can guide you and make things a lot easier for you to go in the right path. Now, with MillBox, something that I like to emphasize for all of our customers, the dongle that comes with the system, be it wet or dry. The wet comes from Roland DigiShape, and it's an individual dongle that gets packaged by Roland, and it can only run on an independent computer unless you have a USB switch hub that you can switch between the keys. They will not run on the software simultaneously. Now, the one I have here in front of me on the screen is the dry dongle, and that comes with your 52D or 52 DCI loader from MillBox, and that is your license, your software, and everything that actually runs MillBox. If by any chance you lose that key, that is your license and it's gone. So you really need to make sure that that license stays in your PC and does not ever disappear, because you can take that license and use it on any PC in the laboratory as long as you have the software downloaded. So that is your key. So please don't lose it. Extremely important.
And
Now,
Ron, I just want to, Ron, real quick, I want to touch on, you said how the vPanel software comes separate for the Roland mill. And this is something that we come across as sales reps trying to educate customers on. A lot of people want to, go slim pickings and have one computer running a wet mill and a dry mill simultaneously. Can you do it? Yes. Is it recommended? Absolutely not, because it's going to slow down your milling immensely trying to run both of those mills off of one computer. With that being said, though, when it comes to the dry mill, you can actually run, is it what, four dry mills
up to
on one seat of MillBox?
Yeah, up to 4 maximum. They only recommend running 3 because it bogs the system down. So up to 4 max, but 3 is the optimal number.
Right. So I just wanted to touch on that because a lot of people really have that question. Do I have to buy a new seat of software for every mill that I get? So again, with Ron suggesting 3, up to 3 mills on one seat of MillBox with one PC. So, okay.
Exactly. Thank you, Sherri. Very good question. So MillBox is really easy to use. The functionality is really straightforward. It's set up in a very simple scheme. And as you can see on the screen, I numbered it 1, 2, 3, 4, and basically there's a 5th option, but that's only necessary, I would say, in larger cases, and I'll get to explain that. So you pick your new job, you pick your machine that you're going to be using, be it the 52, be it the 51, be it the 50, whatever you have is still available on MillBox today. So you pick your machine, you pick your STL, and then what I'm going to stress in this when you import your STLs is the object type designation within MillBox is extremely important. And what I mean by object type designation is you're going to identify a full contour crown as a full contour crown. You're not going to identify a full contour crown as a coping. You're going to identify a bar as a bar, a denture as a denture, and so forth and so on, and line your STL up with the appropriate material when you're starting your new project. So the reason I say it's extremely important is because in MillBox itself, the object type designation associates the actual STL with the appropriate milling strategy. And that milling strategy is what controls the output in your Roland mill and the results you're going to get. And if by mistake you pick the wrong object type, you're going to get the results that you don't want. I had a customer the other day that picked by accident in a quick maneuver, picked a coping, and he got a very rough full contour crown because it did not go to completion. It cut it like a coping. So you're not going to get the desired result in your strategies if you don't pick the object type correctly. It's extremely important. Now, one of the great features in MillBox is stock selection. That when you actually pick the block that you're going to use, MillBox has a library, and that you can basically store all your used pucks in, and then it will pick the optimized position within the block. Once you pick the block you want to use, it will pick the right optimized position for nesting, and it is pretty automatic 96% of the time, unless you have to actually move some screws or adjust some things to make it fit in that designated space you're trying to do. Now, the 4th option that I have highlighted is the start mill. There are 2 options in the software. You can stream to the machine, or you can calculate the tool path. Now, I always recommend calculating the toolpath. I don't like to stream. Streaming is like when you watch a movie on Wi-Fi and you lose the signal and your movie gets stuck. So basically, calculating the toolpath to completion will allow you to get a complete mill every time. Now, for a single unit, full contour crown, if you want to stream because you're in a hurry, go right ahead. But in most cases, I would calculate the case to completion and then send it to the mill. Now, the fifth option is simulation, and I'm going to get into simulation a little bit further in our discussion. Simulation is wonderful, and I would only use it for large cases, not your standard crown and bridge, i.e. an all-on-4 case, or a large bridge, or a large PMMA case. And the reason being is because you want to check and see if everything is going to go through and mill correctly, because usually 98% of the time in the simulation, what you see is what you get. Your output is going to equal exactly what you see on the screen. So if you're milling a large case, it'll also, if you see something wrong, it'll save you and prevent you from going to completion in the machine and wasting that block in material. Extremely important. So a good example of the image, importing your STL and picking the correct object type. And the strategies within MillBox have changed completely. So we're going to lead into the importance of object type, picking the right strategy. But in MillBox now, we have a strategy module editor where customers that are interested in really adjusting and tweaking and basically getting to the desired output in specific ways with new materials, everything in MillBox is controllable. You can adjust, turn on different tooling, different finishing. You can get to a desired result in almost any material on the market today. Just something that is really worthwhile knowing. It's available in the expert, I guess, Sherri, we call it the expert version of MillBox. There's two, there's a standard or basic and an expert.
That's correct.
So, yes, so this module editor is available on the expert version. So now, just to give you an idea of simulation, I put in a couple of pictures of simulation. Standard crown and bridge, I really don't use simulation. It's kind of like not necessary because usually a crown is a crown and you're going to get it out of your machine. But in a larger case situation, simulation is highly recommended and worthwhile because it will save you on large complex cases. So this is an example of the way the simulation would look. It would run through a complete simulation. It would move. It was cut exactly the way the machine would cut. So let's get into tooling. This is like my favorite subject because everybody doesn't understand how important tooling is in the milling world.
Absolutely.
You can buy
and there's so many tools out there to choose from, and it's confusing. What tool do I use for this type of restoration? So this is the part I'm most excited about, Ron. Lay it on.
I'm going to lay it on. So the way MillBox works is we've verified tools, and MillBox has verified tools for us in the market today with Sierra, with Prima, and everything that we offer here at WhipMix has been verified in the MillBox system. Most customers today like to use carbide tools, but what they don't realize is that we have diamond coated tools which add to the longevity of the cut, and your tools go further. Hence, you get more units and a larger ROI based on the tooling expense that you're using. So it's important to remember, and the reason I included this picture is it shows the tooling list that we try to incorporate in MillBox for strategies, and then we try to incorporate the right tooling in your V panel when you get your machine so that everything blends and matches and it pulls the correct tooling to cut the specific object types that I had mentioned earlier in the presentation. So T1, T2, T3, and T4. These are your main zirconia tools. And I highly recommend to everybody out there to get diamond coated tools in these slots because diamond coated tools will take you longer, will cut better, more effective, and give you a, I would say, better return on your investment and get you a nicer post-process crown so that your finishers and glazers and stainers have a nice crown after sintering that they can work on immediately and really don't have to spend a lot of time post-processing once it comes out of the machine. So again, slots 1, 2, 3, and 4 should all be diamond coated tools. Now, for the customers that are cutting PMMA and the customers that are cutting all on 4 cases in PMMA as try-ins to send to the doctor to see if everything fits, to get their occlusion correct, we have a toric tool, a 3mm large toric tool that we would put in slot 5. And we can activate the strategy and the tooling for you here at Whipmix. Our technical team can do that. We can get on MillBox and activate that portion of the software so that the strategy has that tool available. And what it will do is it will cut down rapidly to the project through the PMMA because of its size and its aggressive nature. And it will save your smaller tools from doing all that cutting. So you're going to have this one big tool doing all the roughing and all the rough detail work, get down to the project, and then use the smaller tools to finish off the rest of the project and the strategy. Hence, you're saving time because you got a bigger tool doing all the roughing, and you're saving on tooling as well. You're not breaking small 2mm tools. You're not breaking 1mm tools. You're just adding to your productivity with this larger tool. Now that 3mm toric tool, I highly, highly recommend it. I've put a couple of our customers onto that and they swear by it now.
Now, Ron, I have customers that frequently ask me, how long does it take to mill a full posterior crown? Obviously, it's going to depend on the strategy you're using, the tools that you're using, you know, how highly detailed you want that anatomy to look. You know, I talked to Ian at Roland, and you know, he gives me this pretty wide range actually of time that it could take. So when someone gets on board with us with MillBox, is this something that you could actually tackle with them to help them figure out the fastest and most efficient way so we can kind of dial in the tools that they're going to want to use? Uh-oh, I think did we lose you, Ron?
We lost me, yes. I don't know
Sorry.
why. I'm in the office.
All right. So I don't know if you heard my question, but a lot of people ask, you know, how do I cut down how long it takes to mill a crown? So when I talked to Ian at Roland, he gave me a pretty wide range of how long it takes to mill, whether you want to do like the super fast version, the standard version, or the more detailed version. So if we have a customer that comes on board with us with MillBox and Roland, is this something that you actually can work with them through training and helping them figure out the fastest and most efficient way to mill?
Absolutely. We can work with the customer one-on-one, getting them set up so that they understand the dynamics of being milled either dry or if they have the wet mill, utilizing the wet mill strategies. So working with the customer is what we strive to do and getting them to the right direction. So yes, indeed, we can do that, not a problem, and get them dialed in based on their needs at the laboratory or the clinic. So either way, we can take care of them.
Great, thank you.
But not a problem, but I wanted to touch upon the fact that to get the benefit out of everything that you see vis-a-vis tooling, customers who are familiar with MillBox and have older versions of MillBox, you're not going to see the benefits of all this unless you catch up, optimize, and move forward with the software, because the software is changing on a yearly and quarterly basis. There are over 900 improvements to MillBox that have happened in the last year alone in the software. And many customers who know version 2019 or 2018, waiting for calculations to happen, and they're waiting an hour for a calculation to take place on a large case. MillBox has improved to the point by 35% faster calculation times based on everything they're doing effectively to change and improve the software. So you're getting 35% faster calculation on a large all-in-4 case that used to take an hour on version, let's say 2018 or 19. So things are improving at a drastic rate.
So
The
with that
other
being
two
said,
tools,
Ron, not to cut you off. So let's say potentially a customer you talk to or one of our team members talks to, and they're on 2018, 2019, and they realize how much faster it can be. And let's say they go ahead and update to 2021 or 2022. Will they need to also update their PC in order to run that newer version of MillBox?
yes, they're absolutely going to have to update their hardware as well, because in order for the software to work properly, you need up-to-date specs on your hardware. Old hardware cannot run the new software effectively. It's just a matter of fact that as the software improves, hardware needs to change as well in order to handle these larger capacity softwares. They change on a regular basis. They don't get smaller, they get bigger. So they seem to keep adding to the software.
And which version of Windows is recommended for, say, 2021, 2022?
Okay, so right now, all of our vendors are working on validating Windows 11 and coming up with stable platforms for Windows 11. So I highly recommend all of our customers staying on Windows 10 Pro if possible. And that as soon as we have the green light from our vendors, and I'm hoping that after LMT, most of our vendors will give us the big green light for Windows 11, because most computers are coming out being pushed with Microsoft Windows 11. As soon as we get the green light, then go ahead and upgrade to Windows 11. Until that happens, please don't, because we've effectively had to roll a couple of customers back to Windows 10 Pro because they were having weird anomalies occur with most software or third-party softwares like MillBox and other softwares on the market that we use. Anything else? I see a couple of questions coming in. Do you want to save those to the end, or do you want to answer some of those now?
Well, so we have one here. It says, I know it's important to select the right type of prosthetic we are milling, but how come I can mill an anatomical bridge in 50 minutes when I enter it as an anatomical crown versus when I select the right thing and import it as an anatomical bridge? I save almost an hour and 30 minutes cheating this way.
That question, it also depends on what version of the software is being run. You might be saving time, but you might not be getting the exact results that you want. And as the software improved, each object type has improved to meet the requirements of speed, accuracy, time, and result. So again, the customer with the question could be running an older version, and like you said, could be cheating the system. It's not always optimal to cheat the system. It might be optimal to work with the newer version of the software in order to get the desired result.
Great.
So let me get back to the importance of two additional tools. There are two tools there in slots 8 and 9 that are really important, and those tools are the flat tools. And most people that I talk to don't realize how important the flat tools are. Flat tools will cut your conical connection for a multi-unit, as well as screw channels and screw seats, in all on 4 cases. And it's highly important to have these tools in your system so that you get those desired results and save on post-processing. A lot of customers that don't realize the importance of these tools may have round-ended tools cutting those areas, and you're spending an enormous amount of time sitting at the bench trying to seat basically a tie-based situation to a sintered zirconia situation, and you're grinding on it to try and get it to seat fully. Having the correct tools in place will give you the correct and desired result.
Okay, so Ron, Guy actually has a quick question. Is it possible
Sure.
to use the 3mm toric with zirconia restorations, and would it save time?
It can be used, but the actual strategy, if we're using that tool in zirconia, we would have to adjust the feeds and speeds to match the zirconia so you don't have crazy chipping or crazy results as you get down to your project, because it does actually rough the project, and we don't want any cracking or situation in the zirconia. So we would have to modify some of the feeds and speeds for that size tool, but yes, it can be done. So the next slide that I have here is an example of the coated and the uncoated and the basic importance. Coated lasting longer, giving you accurate cuts, precise cuts, and use those for zirconia. Uncoated, extra sharp carbides used for PMMA and wax for your all-on-4 type restorations or denture work.
And a lot of
Here are
people
the
ask,
flat tools are an example of the,
sorry,
okay,
Ron. A lot of
you're
people
good.
just hitting on the diamond tool. So a lot of people do ask, well, how many units can I get out of that? So on a diamond coated tool, typically you're going to see anywhere between 800 and 1,000 cuts units per tool. So the diamond tools absolutely last significantly longer than those carbide tools for your zirconia.
Yes, and they're well worth the actual investment in the tools because you'll see that longevity and increase in cut. But it's also adding a very nice finish to the unit as well because of the diamond coating. So again, to emphasize, you're going to have less post-processing as it comes out of the machine. You might have to like smooth down the sprue area, but really what you see coming out of the actual CAD software is what you see coming out of the machine. So this was an example of the flat tools that are available, PT1 and PT2. They're actual 1 millimeter and 2 millimeter flat tools used for all of your hybrid cases, basically cutting the actual conical attachment for a all-on-4 hybrid, or the screw channel and screw seats. So the emphasis of these tools, I cannot emphasize how important they are. And all the customers that we've converted over to using these tools have just raved how wonderful their fits are. So they're very excited about the results, and you will see these results happening. Previously, in previous versions, most customers were just using a regular crown and bridge object type, cheating the system, and basically getting the desired outcome for a bridge or a large case, but then having to spend an exorbitant amount of time manually finishing the case. And as somebody who likes to mill and somebody who likes to mill with machines, I strongly always recommend to have the machine do 98% of the work, and that the last finishing touches are basically maybe a little touch of yourself in the anatomy and then colorization. But really, I want the machine doing all the work. Oops, sorry, wrong way. So the 3 millimeter toric tool. This is the one that I've been talking about for PMMA. Yes, it can be adapted to zirconia, but again, speeds and feeds are extremely important. So that's something that we would have to adjust so that you have the desired result getting down to your projects quickly in a zirconia situation. But it's I mainly recommend it for PMMA, indentures, and all-on-4 type situations, or correcting smiles if you're using like a smile direct situation with a PMMA or a smiler, a snap-on smile, and highly recommended. And we have customers in Texas that are cutting strictly with this for their snap-on smiles. So again, just a great tool, and you'll get great results. All right, so a lot of people don't understand the importance of optimizing CAM, and in this, CAD is computer-assisted design, and CAM is computer-assisted manufacturing. Optimizing or optimization is basically taking all the details that you get in CAD and attempting to identify the best way in the software to get the most optimized results. And a lot of people don't understand that basically the CAM is taking all that you're outputting from your CAD design, be it from 3Shape or be it from your other design softwares, and they're converting it into a language, a usable language in the machine. The machine is just a dumb box, but the CAM is actually the brains and components that will create your restoration being cut properly. And if you're not optimized, up to speed with the latest in either hardware or software, you will see a slow result, not great. You're going to be waiting a lot. You're going to be wasting a lot of time, and time is money, be it in the laboratory or in the operatory. So you need to think about how to optimize your situation to get the best results always. Now, again, saving time with your software increases your ROI or equals money. So everything you do in your system and that you improve in your system and the quality of your system will save you time and make you money. So all I strongly recommend is tooling, going with your hardware, going with your software, and basically giving you the ability to process everything you need in the laboratory with all your prosthetics. Sherri, you have anything to add?
Well, no, I think this is great. You know, I think a lot of us struggle with the whole tooling and understanding which tools were meant for what. I think you hit on that quite well. And are you in a position where you can maybe kind of show that workflow live in the software?
I am in the position, but you're going to have to bear with me because I got to activate the software. So I'm going to stop sharing for a quick second, and I'm going to do that.
Awesome. And then so, you know, another thing is like I had a doctor the other day ask me, well, how do I know which size disc to use? So, you know, you've got a 16 millimeter disc versus a 30 millimeter disc. So when choosing the size, the thickness, that's obviously going to affect how long it takes to mill. So because if you're choosing, let's say, a 25 millimeter puck, when you clearly should have gone with a 14 millimeter puck, you're cutting away more material, spending more time cutting away more material to actually get to mill the restoration. So if you could kind of touch on that a little bit in the software and just kind of show that workflow, I think that would be helpful for people that are not familiar with MillBox.
Absolutely. It's actually really, really easy to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my Mailbox Desktop. Let me slide you guys over. All right. And the workflow that I outlined in the presentation, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 is right here on the right side of MillBox. Can everybody see my screen? I'm hoping so.
Yes.
All right. So usually when you start off your project, you start off with a new job. And since I am technical support, I have every possible machine choice available from Roland on my desktop because I handle questions from every model machine on the market today that still exist or are still being used, as well as the new ones. But for this, basically, I'm going to pick the 52D. And when you pick 52D, most of our customers don't realize you have a C-clamp option that's available as an extra. And the C-clamp option offers you 90-degree milling capability, which is just a wonderful added feature because it actually sets the project at 90 degrees and will cut undercuts and difficult areas to get to on larger cases in the anterior at 90 degrees and offer you just a better finish on large cases. But for this particular situation, I'm going to pick the standard holder, and then you hit the check mark, and then it brings you and opens up your STL import. So you have a number of choices you can pick project-wise. In this particular section, I'm going to pick, let's say, a full contour bridge as here. Within the MillBox, I will identify this as a full contour bridge object type. So it associates the correct strategy for cutting with the actual project. Then you will actually, if you want to maneuver the actual framework and see it, you can left click on your project and it opens up a super viewer so that you can actually see the thickness, see the unit, make sure everything is there the way you like. It also gives you the basic scale and size of the unit. So you would know that this would theoretically fit in anywhere between a 14 and a 16 millimeter puck. So when we go to the next section, which would be picking the stock selection, so I will check off this mark, it will import the project.
All of a sudden, I heard Jeopardy music playing in my head.
What is a project for 500, Alex?
Exactly.
And you have to remember, I am on a laptop, so everything is just a little bit slower. So right now it opens up your stock selection. And the question for the doctor that you brought up on size or thickness, usually every case or every unit has a rough estimate as to its dimension. And as I showed you in the viewer, brought it up in the original viewer as 15.77. So you know that that bridge will fit in a 16 millimeter puck. If it's in
Right.
a 14, you're going to have stuff that's protruding. So MillBox is intuitive enough where it will actually recommend to the customer what size block to use. So just by looking at that, I know I need a 16. I don't have one. Usually you have your used disc on the right and you have your new on the left with the plus sign. So what I will do is I will create a new puck. And then your scale factor is usually on the side of your puck. And that is something that you can always find on every piece of zirconia that is out there by every manufacturer. And it is their shrinkage rate, because as we all know in the industry, zirconia shrinks 25% by mass. So usually the shrinkage factor or scale factor is on the side of your puck. In MillBox, you can actually, if you don't have a shrinkage factor or you're moving fast and you don't want to put it in, you can leave it as the actual average that's there, 1.25, and it will shrink correctly and it will actually function correctly. But as a basically protocol within the laboratory, I always recommend every technician that's putting in a new zirconia or a new puck into the stock feature to always enter the scale factor, which in certain situations could be 1.2 to 1.438 or 1.248 or so forth and so on, depending on the actual lot or the size or the company that's being used. So then you would enter a stock name. Usually you can put in, let's say you put in whip mix. Let's say if we still had Vericore out there, we could put Vericore in, or whip mix, or we can put in puck, or we can put in A1 as a shade. You can put in as a stock name, and then you can put in, let's say, laboratory either on the puck, or you can put it on the box the puck came from, so that you can keep it tracked. Lot codes are always provided by the company that's actually producing the puck, so you can put in a lot code and then you save that information, and that gets associated with the puck that's brought in. As soon as you bring that puck in, or I bring that puck in, I can see that I may have picked one that's too small. So the reason I did that is because if I want to go back to stock selection, because I see all the red parts that are out, I can always pick a larger puck. So I can switch to 18 and I can do test, test. And it asks me, do I want to nest all the elements from the previous puck into the new puck? And I say yes. And it basically brings it in and puts it in the right size, right puck, right location, and it already sprues the main units of the case. In this particular situation, if I want to add sprues, hold on, because I got to close the viewer so I can see that tool.
And I'm always fascinated, like I see all my buddies on Facebook posting, it's like a puzzle where it's like a game to see how many units they can fit in a puck. So I always find that quite fascinating, how people can really maximize the space in a puck.
They can actually, basically in most zirconia pucks, if you have a really gifted person that's been doing it a long time, you can theoretically get anywhere from 28 to 30 units into a puck and maximize it and use it up completely.
Well, with that being said, let's say, so like right here in this situation, we're starting off with a fresh puck. Is there a recommendation for a starting point? Do you start dead smack in the middle? Do you start on the outer edge? Is there a rule of thumb of where to start?
Rule of thumb basically with any case is that with MillBox, it's so easy. You bring in the first unit in a new puck and it automatically nests it to the outside portion. And then once we calculate the case, it remembers that position, so that any other case units that you're bringing into that puck in the future, it will always optimize the actual nesting position in the puck, and it will bring them in one after another. So I will have to calculate this project in order to actually save it so that I can demonstrate the use of that. So at least this way you get to see the windows that are involved with the tooling strategies that go with this project. So with the full contour bridge, once you click on Save to Toolpath, it opens up basically a milling strategy box. So the first strategy that's automatically checked is 3+2. 99% of the projects out there are done in 3+2, where it starts at one top, flips over, cuts the other top and the bottom, and cuts everything into 3+2. I would only use this 5-axis simultaneous only for larger cases or bridges, or even this particular 4-unit case. So 5-axis simultaneous is what you would pick. Then you can do your undercuts on the occlusal side, undercuts on the cavity side, and then you can add secondary anatomy with a 0.6 as well as secondary anatomy with a 0.3. Okay, so those are 2 additional tools that are highly recommended to have as well in your system, a 0.6 millimeter and a 0.3, and they're only really used for secondary anatomy or refining anatomy in your case. But this is the way I would set up this particular case. You check that off and it would go through its calculation process and calculate fully. So now we're just going to basically run through a calculation. I can save this and then I can reuse the disks to import any other case so that you can see it going through an automatic nesting.
Awesome. Thank you for going through that.
Not a problem. Again, it's my laptop, so it's going to take a little bit of time just to get through it. It's a little bit faster on a tower than it is on a laptop.
Ron, we do have another question that came in.
Sure.
This is from Cloud, and it is there a trick to place a stabilizer on a bridge? I like it in the lingual part, but sometimes I have to click 10 times on the lingual in order to get it there.
Okay. Usually it wants to attach the stabilizer bar to the thickest portion of the actual bridge. And usually on a full roundhouse, it will always attach it from the lingual. If it's a smaller bridge and you want an actual stabilizer on the small bridge, you can actually move it over physically yourself by clicking and dragging it into the position you want, instead of having it just automatically pop up. Because again, it's going to take the thickest portion of the restoration and try to attach the stabilizer to the thickest portion. That is why you're having a hard time attaching one. In this particular situation, I did not attach one, but I can always come back and if you message me privately, I will be happy to show you in a team viewer session with you how to do that, but it can be done. It also depends on what version of the software you're running.
And another question while this is going through its calculation,
Yes.
do you have what's your recommendation on, in terms when you're adding a stabilizer to a bridge, at what length span bridge do you usually recommend adding a stabilizer?
Usually anything that's higher than a 6-unit case or a 6-unit anterior case or higher, I'd recommend attaching a stabilizer. Anything really lower than a 6-unit, it's not always necessary. And I haven't noticed any warpage in spans like the example I have on the screen right now, or anything longer by 1 or 2 units. I haven't noticed any warpage. It basically depends on the comfort level of the laboratory, what they're used to or accustomed to working with. And again, anything larger, a 6-unit or larger, I would use a stabilizer, basically. Full roundhouse, absolutely, because you want it as stable as possible.
And to finish off, while we're still calculating, you know, I have with new customers as well as existing customers, well, you know, I don't have to upgrade every year. I don't have to pay that annual renewal every year. You know, you're not going to get cut off if you're not up to date on paying your renewals, but there are clearly major benefits to updating. So anyone that is sitting below 2021, whoever your reseller is, I highly encourage you to reach out to your reseller, give them your dongle number, and have them provide you a quote to update you to either 2021 or 2022. With that being said, Ron, has 2022 already been released, or is that still in the works?
2022 is being officially released in April. We will get to see like the fundamental changes and benefits here at LMT because Sim Systems will be present and we'll be demoing and we'll be showing. So we'll get to learn more about everything that's coming out right here at LMT next week. And I think that there will be some major changes between 2021 and 2022. There's always vast improvements. Again, you won't be, if you make the change to your software, you're never cut off from improvements. The WhipMix team and the technical team can always give you patch files or patch core improvements that they come out with, and it will help your system along. But it is always highly recommended as your CAD software changes for you to stay with improving your CAM software. The two go hand in hand. And basically, as the CAD improves, the CAM improves, and we make those changes, and I mean companies make those changes to CAM in order to keep up with the changes from CAD so that you will never be left behind. And the only way to do that is to optimize your systems by adding the latest version.
Gotcha. And Tim, thank you for your question. I actually get this question frequently about comparing MillBox to Hyperdent. Hyperdent is a fantastic software, just as MillBox. And I think, to be frank, they both have their advantages. And so I've heard some people like say, Hyperdent's the Cadillac, and like, MillBox is, let's say, the Honda that just keeps going and going. It's very practical in everyday life. So anyone that's really on the fence of debating the two, I highly recommend that you get an online demo from the reseller that you're considering. Get an online demo of Hyperdent, have a list of questions, and then do an online demo with the reseller for MillBox. Have the same exact list of questions to have kind of an apples to apples comparison. And then from there, you can really make an educated decision as to which of those two options would be best for your specific needs. So
that's a great point. And I'd like to touch upon that a little bit further. So I've been very privileged in my career to play with multiple CAM softwares. Hyperdent was one of them. Other manufacturers, I've had several. So if I'm comparing apples to oranges, I can tell you straight out and tell our listeners here today that MillBox can do pretty much everything that Hyperdent can do. And you just have to take each one for a test drive and see what it can do in the output in your machine. And I think that what you'll realize is that MillBox is easy to use. It's user friendly. You can train somebody off the street to use it, and it will offer you the same complexities that you need for large cases in any material that Hyperdent would. And you just have to take each one for a test drive. But you'll see that MillBox will definitely give you what you need. That's just my opinion.
All right, and then we have another question, although we're still calculating thanks to the laptop. Oh, it's done.
No, it's done. It's done.
Oh, perfect. So Claude would like to know if you can show how to place it manually. How do you nest manually?
Actually, because I'm calculated, I will be able to. Let's see here. Maybe I can add one. Let me move you.
And I believe maybe he's referring to the stabilizer specifically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's see, because usually in the 2021 version, it's pretty intuitive, and it actually put it on the lingual side. So again, so to answer Claude's question, it depends on the software version you're using, and I have the most up-to-date version. With MillBox 2021, you have 5 stabilizer choices that you see open here at the top of the screen. You identify it, and then you left click on the actual part that you want the stabilizer added to. Now, you can move it just like I did by clicking on the unit, and it moved it to the other side. And now I'm going to reposition it onto the lingual. So it's basically clicking the location of where you want the actual stabilizer to go. Okay. So in the 2021 version, it's a little bit more automated. Now in Claude's version, I might have to just get on TeamViewer and look and see what it's doing and which version he is running. But in the 2021 version, you can identify the location of the stabilizer, as you saw me do. I identified the lingual, it went to the lingual. I identified the buckle, and it went to the buckle. But you can identify, and it also takes into consideration the actual thickness of the unit, and it gives you the a small stabilizer based on the size and width of the unit. It takes into approximation all the thicknesses of the unit automatically. So that's another feature of MillBox that has improved immensely, is that it takes into consideration a lot of things intuitively, almost like an AI feature within the software.
Awesome. All right. If anyone else has any questions, get them in, because we are going to be wrapping this up in just a few minutes.
So now that we had it calculated, as you can see, we have a used stock and that test block, and you see the space of the bridge. So if I was to bring in another bridge of the same project, okay, to nest, it automatically chooses the position to add that other project to. So the beauty of MillBox now with the auto nesting feature is that it optimizes the maximum space in the puck. So you will get as much out of it as you can. Any user will.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Ron.
You're very welcome. Are there any other questions while we have it open before we close?
Can you-
We had, oh, go ahead, Sherry.
I was just going to say, Arun wanted to know, can you please show the strategy editor basics?
Strategy editor basics. Okay, that's going to be interesting to open. So bear with me. They're great questions. I really appreciate it. Actually, I need codes to open it. Oh, no, maybe not. Hold on a second. So we go to configuration. And then in configuration, if the codes are in, strategy options open. All right. So it's loading. So hold on a second. Let me go to 52DE. Sierra. Let's pick, for instance, PMMA. So also a very quick point. For those customers that are really not interested in tweaking or changing or playing with, this is also an area that can cause, well, let's put it this way, in the milling world, you make one small infinitesimal change, it can affect a lot of things down the line. So when you get into this area, you have to be extremely careful and understand the step-by-step process of what you're doing. Because if you make one change and we don't know where you made the change, it's hard for us to get on tech support and fix that problem. So that's why we are lucky and fortunate that this is a coded feature and we have codes to gain access to this area. On mine, it's open because I have access to these pretty much on a regular basis. So it's very important that you understand that making changes here can affect everything down the line. But as you see, it opens up the complete milling strategy. So it starts off with a 2mm, then you have rest millimeter finishing, rest material finishing, internal, external, semi-finishing. So it lists everything out. And we can change tools that are being used. So if you want to use an external finishing, let's say that's different than 3D pocket finishing, we have a Z level finishing that might give you a finer detailed finish, and you can change to that. So the actual strategy editor, just to let everybody know who's viewing, there's an additional training that's available from Sim Systems MillBox as well as us at WhipMix, and it would behoove anybody to take the training so that we can teach you step by step what you are controlling, because you have to understand it and the way it works in order to use it. You can activate things, turn off things, see things. So like anything that has an X next to it is active. If you actually want to see it when it comes up in the strategy edit, strategy selection choices, you can make it visible or you can make it invisible just by clicking on it, just like that. So there's a lot of benefits to it, and you can really change things. Once you make your changes here, the way it works in MillBox, you would have to go to another back door section for cam tooling to adjust feeds and speeds if you want to adjust feeds and speeds. So there's two areas that you would be working with. You would do it here, and then you can do it in another location as well.
Awesome. Thank you. All right,
You're
Bryce.
you're very welcome. Thanks for the question.
Absolutely.
Right at 1 hour, everybody. So I'd like to give a big thank you to both Sherri and Ron. This is super good information. I'm really big thank you for you guys being willing to do this for us today. A couple little things. Again, I do want to reiterate that this is being recorded. This was recorded. The recording will be available again on our website, on our YouTube channel, and on our Facebook page. The last thing, you will be seeing a little poll question come up on your screen, asking if you'd like to get in touch with Sherri or whoever your digital representative might be. If you'd like more information, feel free to click yes and follow the prompts on your screen to get in contact with somebody from Whitmix. Otherwise, thank you for everybody for joining us today. And again, thank you, Sherri and Ron.
Great. Thanks, guys. See you
Thanks,
next time.
guys.
Have a great day.
You too.
See
Bye.
you all in Chicago, hopefully.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.